So right now the camera is set to 4K 24 frames per second, and look how cropped in it is. Look all around here. And I'm gonna switch to 1080 and you can see what kind of image you would get with it. Ugh. Allergies. Wow, the pollen this year has been crazy for me. So right now, as you can see, I have switched to 1080 and it's set to 60 frames per second, but I'm gonna do the video in 24 frames per second in post. So look at it over here and look how much more room I have now that it's set to 1080. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're shooting 4K versus the 1080. You're gonna lose a lot of space in the camera, and this is with the regular lens that came with the camera, the 15-45, which is an M mount lens. So
what's up everybody, Gus Da Costa here, and today I finally got in my hands the Canon M50, and I gotta say I'm starting to fall in love with this little camera. It is very compact and it's almost a perfect vlogging camera, and we're gonna get into it and say why and why not. If you want to get it, if you should get it, if you shouldn't. First off, I really like the weight, the size. The camera is so small compared to, I have a Canon 80D, and this one compared to that is so much smaller. When you're holding it, it just feels right when you're holding this in your camera. It doesn't feel flimsy or anything like that. It feels legit. And I got right now is the 15-45 lens on it. This lens is a 3.5 to 6.3 aperture, so it's not one of the greatest when it comes to aperture, but it gets it done for whatever it is that I need. And so jumping right into it, my number one thing that I like about it is the position where they put the recording button. So if you're filming yourself, the record button's right there and you can see it. I can see the record button right over here in front of me, and I can just press it, where with the Canon G7X, like I tend to use the most about when I'm vlogging, but I'm always guessing where the button is. I know most of the time, but if I'm in a rush or something, I always press the wrong button, which I think is like the ring function button or something like that. So having it over here, I can never miss. Great feature, putting this very underrated feature, nobody talks about it, that they have changed and put on the Canon M50. Number two thing that I like about this camera is the 4K video. Finally, a 4K mirrorless camera from Canon, and also the 4K time lapse. Yes, it does not have the dual pixel autofocus, and it's a cropped in 4K. But it's 4K nonetheless. I wouldn't use it for vlogging, but when I'm filming other things, I can definitely use manual focus. And if you're doing time lapse, having that 4K time lapse feature, it's awesome, because then you can just zoom in and post and do things like that. So very great feature, finally. Number three is the flip out screen. If you remember the M6, so the M5 had the flip down screen, and the M6 had the flip up. The flip down with the tripod used to be terrible. Having the flip down screen with the M5 was very hard getting a tripod there. It was a terrible design. And then with the M6, you were blocking, your microphone would be in the way with the M6. So now with the M50, they have the flip out screen just like they do in the Canon 80D, and it swivels all around. Great job, Canon, finally on getting that flip out screen on the mirrorless camera. Number four, and one of my favorite things about this new camera is the Digic 8 sensor. I have noticed definitely an improvement in a 1080. Even in a 1080, the quality of the image is a lot better. Comparing just to the cameras that I own, I noticed a difference in the picture. The Digic 8 sensor is a little bit better image than I was getting with the Digic 7, and I believe the G7X has the Digic 4. And number five, what I like about it too is this little feature right over here. If you put in portrait mode, you can get that blurry background, even though this aperture only goes down to 3.5. You can really get a good blurry background picture with this camera. So this feature is awesome, and the way that you get to it. So if you set your camera to scene, and then you get on the screen and you hit the top left corner here, then you can pick whatever scene you want to do. But like I said, the portrait gives you that blurry background, even though this aperture and the lens only goes down to 3.5. And also you have the smooth skin, you have landscape, which does the high depth of field, and you have sports. If you're shooting sports, this is not going to be 1DX type of quality, but you can get a decent picture if you have a fast moving subject. And then you have your macro right here, close up, works very, very well as well. Food, if you're taking pictures of food, you can use that. And if you're panning like a moving car or a bicycle or something like that. And you also have the night scene, which takes 4 pictures and consecutively, and it looks very, very good. And also you have your HDR backlight control, and here you have silent mode. So that is number 5. I like the scene modes that you have on this is much better than what the other cameras used to have. Number 6 for a pro, and my final one on this camera, is the price. There's no camera out there today that you're gonna get for $699. It's gonna have 4K and it's gonna be an amazing quality like this camera. Sure, Sony has other cameras that have 4K that are better than this camera, but not for $699. You can't not find a better camera. At least I haven't found it yet. Better camera for $699 with all the features that's packed in this camera. Even though with the shifting 4K focus, it's still great. If you know how to manual focus, it's a great little camera. So let's get into the cons, and definitely the being a cropped sensor. This is already a 1.6 crop factor. If I put a mount adapter here for an EF mount, and I put another lens here with an EF mount, it's gonna times 1.6 again, and then it becomes very hard to do close-ups and things like that with the camera. It's just shrinking the image more and more. So the crop sensor factor is tough on this camera, but if you're using just the M mount lens on this, which is usually what I'm using, it's a great little camera for that. The other con, like I said, no dual pixel autofocus in 4K. It is tough not having that, but like I said, if you want to use manual focus, you can do that, but it's still a con. I wish that they had put the dual pixel autofocus. Maybe they'll do it with an update in the firmware, but knowing Canon, probably not. Also, this camera now has 120 frames per second. Unfortunately, it is 720p. They did not put that in 1080. That would have been awesome if they could have done 1080p, 120 frames per second. Still a great feature to have if you're trying to slow it down a lot. Having the 120 frames per second is a great feature to have in your arsenal. In conclusion, in my opinion, this is the best vlogging camera you can find out there for under $700. This camera will get the job done. It's got a little bit of everything that you need, and it's packed with so many features. And for vlogging, it's lightweight. It does what it does very, very well. And for under 700 bucks, you're not gonna find another camera like that. So my question to you is, if you have the M50, what do you think of it? And what is your favorite camera under $700 for vlogging? Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.